My name's JoN Abraham. This is my 2022 HyuNdai Kona N. What got me into cars? Definitely, I would say the Need for Speed series. I started playing those at a young age. The first game being Need for Speed 2. Would play with my older brother, Matt, split screen on the same keyboard. Some fond memories of that. Following up with Hot Wheels and, 1/18 scale model cars. Started collecting, I'd say probably when I was 5 or 6. Continue to do so to this day. Definitely a bit of a hoarder, have amassed, hundreds, if not over 1,000 at this point. One scale at a time, I like to say, as I continue to hopefully achieve my goals and my car dreams. But yeah, I would say my family definitely inspired me. Growing up, we had Land Rovers. My mom had a Land Rover Discovery that we would take off-roading together as a family. That got me, generally that's what got me into car lifestyle. So my first vehicle was the Land Rover. It was the second Land Rover Discovery my mom had. It was a Series 2. 2001. Didn't get my license till I was 18, actually. So the summer before college, my parents gifted me that car to use for the summer. It actually had a cracked radiator at the time. My dad would pour some ghetto sealant juice in there, a little makeshift repair. And I ended up driving it with no coolant in it and seized the engine. So that was pretty short-lived. But it continued to run throughout the summer. It got me through the summer leading into college. My dad, I don't think, has forgiven me to this day for doing that. After college, got a job, took me out to Chicago, ended up buying a Mark 6 GTI. That was definitely my first, I would say, enthusiast car. I really enjoyed that. Moved from Chicago to Denver with that car. And that was the first time I had kind of got into the local car scene. I would go to a Haggerty Cars and Coffee that was out in Golden, Colorado, where I met some guys who had a local club called Alpha Euros. And that was the first time that I felt like I was a part of the car community and connected with folks who had a similar mindset and passion for cars. Following the Mark 6 GTI, it unfortunately, it got totaled. A person ran a red light and took me out. I was actually on my way to buy wheels for the car. I was across the street from meeting up with the guy, and the person ran a red light, T-boned me, and that was that. It was a blessing in disguise. I was able to, get out of those car payments I still owed at the time, and that was a catalyst for me having some funds to move back to Philadelphia to work for my brother's branding agency and help him support his family. It was a few years spread from the Mark 6 to my next vehicle. Definitely had some years just biking around the city. But the next vehicle was a E34 525 TD, the turbo diesel. It was a Euro spec car. My buddy had imported it. I saw he posted it on his Instagram story with some beautiful pictures. Shout out to Yusuf, Parallel Philly. But yeah, so he'd posted the car, and I was very impulsive, saw the Instagram story, and was like, I need to have that. And I bought it. Had no business getting into a 30-year-old BMW at the time. It was a great experience, and it led to many amazing connections, lasting connections to this day. But the car was definitely in the shop more so than it was on the road. Thank you to VAC for doing their best to try to keep it alive and keep it going. But similar to the Land Rover Discovery, I seized the engine on the BMW as well. So that was unfortunate. I think I had the car maybe a total of 8 months. And yeah, like I said, I think it was in the shop, I think maybe for 3 or 4 out of those 8 months. So definitely an unfortunate experience. It was a little bit beyond my means, and I was also treating it as a daily driver, or attempting to. So that was kind of, looking back on it, that was a little bit foolish of me at the time, but it was a beautiful car, poverty spec, it had cloth seats, roll down windows, and it was imported from south of France. So it had the yellow headlights, yellow hella headlights. But yeah, definitely a very cool car, and led to a lot. I participated in a mainline motor rally back in, I think it was maybe 2018, 2019. Met a lot of cool people through that, and have continued to remain connected to them. So funny story about Bruno the BMW. A buddy of mine was opening up a lifestyle store out in Pittsburgh. I wanted to support the opening of it. So me and my friend Jeff hopped in the car and decided to drive out the 5 hours or so to Pittsburgh. Little did I know, my battery at the time was over 5 years old and well beyond its lifespan. And also my alternator was going bad. So I made it to Pittsburgh, but as soon as we got to our first stop, the car wouldn't turn over. And, we were stranded for a bit, ended up getting jumped, got the car turned on. We made it to the friend's event, but I left the car running. I didn't turn it off, and was going from stop to stop, just trying to keep the car alive as best I can. I ended up buying the biggest jump box I could from Pep Boys, and every time I started it, I had to use that jump box and keep it charged. I was in Pittsburgh for just an overnight trip, but me and my buddy were actually coming down this hill and completely lost power, and the car went black. It was about 11 o'clock at night. My buddy's freaking out. I was yelling at him to chill out. I had it under control, but I truly didn't have it under control. We were able to pull over to the side of a road. We were in a suburb of Pittsburgh at the time. So the car was there, stranded for the night. The next morning, went back with the jump box, got it going. We ended up hitting the road, didn't make it very far. We got about to Bedford, PA, where before Bedford, we actually got stranded on the turnpike. A Good Samaritan stopped in I think a Nissan Leaf, and jumped us, which was amazing. But like I said, made it about halfway from Pittsburgh to Philly, but the car died again and ended up having to get flatbedded to Bedford, PA, to an AutoZone. Determined that the alternator was bad, and I bought the best battery that I could from AutoZone and was able to make it home. But I kid you not, while I was able to drop my friend off, and when I was pulling up to about a mile away from my apartment, the electronics started flickering, it started sputtering. I made it to the side of my street, and that's where the car died. So that battery was able to get me from Bedford to Philly, but was a really nutty experience. About a 5-hour journey turned into almost a 10-hour journey. My buddy Jeff, shout out Secondhand Silver, he was a little bit frustrated with me. The fact that I, took the risk of driving the vehicle out there when it wasn't really prepped for such a journey. But all in all, it was a good adventure, and ended up towing the vehicle to VAC. I got the alternator rebuilt by the shop in the Northeast. I was really pressed for time because this was the week before the mainline motor rally, and it was my 30th birthday. I was really trying to experience that with the car. It was a goal of mine. So I was very determined and was able to get the alternator rebuilt. VAC got it back in the car, and I was running for the rally that following Saturday. So when there's a will, there's a way, and shouts to Bruno for all those lessons learned throughout the years. And then following that, my next vehicle was Frankie, my 2022 HyuNdai Kona N that I've had for 2 years and continue to enjoy to this day. So how I ended up in the Kona, not ashamed to say it, Matt Farah, Smoking Tire. I watched his review of the car, and 2 days later, I owned it. Went up to Faulkner Hyundai, signed my name on the dotted line. After one test drive, I knew that I wanted to be an enthusiast and share the end feeling. But yeah, Matt Farah and him ripping it in the canyons and like hearing the exhaust and just how it handles, you know, stock from the factory is what sold me on getting the Hyundai Kona. Never saw myself being a Hyundai owner. And now in a few, you know, 2.5 years, I would say I'm definitely one of the biggest Hyundai enthusiasts in the region. Proud to say that. Funny experience. I actually bought the car, and about a month later, I ended up quitting my job at the time. And my brother Matt, the one who got me into cars, he had his firstborn, my niece Sawyer. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna drive out west, and so I hadn't had the opportunity to meet her in over a year. Took the journey out west, stopped in some cool places along the way. I stopped at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, have some cool photos trackside, and got to peruse the museum there. I then took it to Colorado, where I went up to Pikes Peak. I like to think that it might be the first N car that was up Pikes Peak. I know that might be a bold claim, but it was only about 3 months after it had came from Korea. So I had it up Pikes Peak, and then while I was also in Colorado, there was a dirt track on the side of the road, and I said, oh, you know, I was trying to live out my Lightning McQueen dreams here, and I helped myself to the dirt track and ripped around. Ended up, it was a little bit muddy at the time, so I feel bad. I'm not going to say the location of the dirt track. I don't want to incriminate myself, but definitely tore it up. I got some good footage with my GoPros, and then needed an alignment immediately after. So got an alignment, got on my way. But yeah, I had it all the way out to Santa Fe, New Mexico. But great journey. Unfortunately, I ended up, there's a common issue with the injectors on these cars. And so on my way back out east, I was doing a light pool with a Mustang, and switching from eco mode to N mode, the injector clogged and failed on one of the cylinders. So ended up, I think the injector cracked, it flooded the cylinder. I was in limp mode. This was like a Friday afternoon. A little bit of a scary experience on the highway as trucks were flying by me, but was able to limp to the closest dealership, which was Fletcher Hyundai in Joplin, Missouri. But being a Hyundai performance model, they didn't have the part on hand. It was coming from Canada. So it was also a Friday afternoon at the time. So the part didn't come in till Tuesday, and I was stranded in Joplin, Missouri for 5 days. So interesting experience. You know, my 2-week journey ended up being more like a 3-week journey. And I definitely found, you know, was a bit challenging to find things to do in Joplin, Missouri at the time, but I made the most of it. Drove down to Springfield, went to the Bass Pro Shop headquarters, which was a crazy experience. And also there was in Springfield, Missouri, there's a really cool Route 66 museum. So I recommend that for anybody who's able to make it out that way. It's a guy's private collection. But yeah, after that, the guys at Fletcher really took care of me, and Hyundai USA actually ended up reimbursing me for the hotel. So can't say it was that bad of experience overall. But on the way back, I kind of took some of the back roads and did do like the original Route 66. So that was really cool to see, and got a lot of content throughout the journey that I've still yet to share. So stay tuned for that. So some of the best experiences I've had with the Kona N, definitely thanks to the 80K automotive community. So the first year I got it, I participated in the Lancaster Supercar Cruise. I think it was the third one they had held, but incredible experience. There was about 300 cars. We met out at the Classic Auto Mall in Reading, PA, and drove to Warminster. But the car, you know, definitely held its own and was able to keep up with a lot of the higher end cars. And that kind of, you know, definitely gave me a sense of pride for being, you know, such an affordable package, but being able to keep up with Porsches and, you know, GTRs, Ferraris, etc. But yeah, through 80K Automotive, I've continued to meet some incredible people in our local car community, especially my man, Mark DeChristopher, who to this day I continue to do some some automotive content creation with. To Christopher Media. Hit him up for all your media needs. But yeah, Mark, I met him through ADK, just going to a lot of the meets at the Houston Cafe, and then a lot of the rallies and stuff that they do. A few of the rallies, I had Mark actually hanging out the back of the Kona in the hatch, which was a little precarious. There was a time or two where, you know, he had to pull the hatch quickly to avoid being pulled over by a police officer. And we were like, all right, this isn't the safest idea or safest way to do this. So this year, we've kind of leveled up our game. And with the Syndicate rig, I put a hitch on the back. And yeah, the quality and the stabilization, you know, is next level thanks to the Syndicate shock killer. But yeah, so now Mark's able to safely operate the camera from the back seat as I drive the speed limit and capturing, you know, all these supercars and various enthusiast cars throughout our area. So definitely hit us up if you guys would like to shoot any content. We're available and ready. Yeah, happy to help. So what I've done to it so far, it's got H&R lowering springs and 8mm spacers. Shouts to H&R for the hookup on those. I have a K&N Typhoon intake, a Boomba blow-off valve, as well as a Boomba dress-up kit, some dress-up bolts. Other than that, just some cosmetic stuff. Pristine Auto Solutions did some PPF on my headlights to mitigate the pitting of the headlights. And they also gave me a tint on the front windows. Shouts to Pristine. Besides that, it's not tuned or anything, stock exhaust. My next modification would definitely be some new wheels and tires. But just got to get my money right for that.
He's running. I still never get over how like nice these cars sound. And they boogie too. They're surprisingly boogie.
A lot of people ask me like, that's stock? It's like, So we'll just pull out here.
I think honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that it was a Hyundai product, a lot more people would buy and a lot more people would really enjoy the Konas, which is a shame because
yeah, I mean, I agree.
I know you beat the piss out of this car.
And it's very forgiving. Like I used to beat the piss out of the Mark 6 GTI and it wasn't so forgiving. I blew out the PVC valve and the PVC valve failed and I blew out every engine seal of the cars right when I moved to Colorado. And I was looking at over $4,000 in engine rebuild.
Jesus.
But I had like a third-party warranty. And I had to bluff a little bit and like threaten that I had like an attorney because they were trying to deny the claim. But once I did that, they came back and approved it, and the Volkswagen dealership in Denver rebuilt the engine. So I got lucky there.
That you bought the Kona new, right? Like brand new?
Yeah, I bought the Kona. I bought the Kona brand new from Faulkner Hyundai. It had just like delivery miles on it. So test drove it once, and then that same day signed my name and drove away. I've put about 50,000 miles on it since in
2 years.
In a little over
That's
2
not
years.
bad.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, you see me at a lot of events and stuff locally. It's like I don't just go to one car event.
Yeah.
The last Sunday I went to 5 car events. In one day.
In one day.
So
Jesus.
It's I definitely spread my support as much as I can throughout the community and just continue to expand my network and spread the end feeling.
Spread the end feeling
as vastly as I can.
Enthusiast.
I like to be an ambassador for the community and I've met a lot of great people in the tri-state. Have some local buddies. We all have Kona N's in various colors, which is fun. Got my buddy Chris, who's got a white one, Too Frosty, and Jeremy Kraken, who's got a black one. So we often meet up and roll out to the meets together and Jeremy started a little N Club PA. So we're continuing to recruit members for that and kind of expand our crew. But yeah, the Konas, we have a lot of Elantra buddies, Elantra N buddies, but the Kona N is definitely more of a rarity. There's actually only 13,000 of them worldwide.
13,000 Kona N's?
Yeah, 13,000 worldwide. It only has a 2-year run from 2022 and 2023.
Oh, they don't make them anymore.
No.
Hyundai has a habit of doing that. It, like with the Veloster, it only had a couple model years, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The Veloster, I was a big fan of the Veloster, and the styling iffy, but I think
performance-wise, I mean, this is so same exact drivetrain, and everything. The only thing with the Kona N only comes in the 8-speed DCT. You can't get.
That's
manual.
the thing. The Veloster had a manual, didn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, if this came in a manual, I would probably buy one. I'm not gonna lie, because they're all-wheel drive too, right?
This is their front-wheel drive.
They're front-wheel drive.
So all the Elantra N, the Veloster, Kona N, they're all front-wheel drive.
I thought the Kona was all-wheel drive.
Standard Kona is all-wheel drive.
The N is okay. I got
So standard Kona, which actually my sister, younger sister, she had a white Kona. I think it's like a 2019 or 2020 maybe. But the base model 1.6 liter engine. That I drove that. She has it down in Miami, and I was just really impressed with just how it handled. The chassis and everything was pretty awesome. So that kind of like turned me on the idea of like, okay, Hyundai's actually putting out some practical, pretty cool cars. And I mean, you would see the Kona everywhere. And I'm definitely a hatchback guy. I mean, coming from the Mark 6 GTI, I like the utility of the hatchback.
And that's one thing that really drew me to it too. It's like it's spacious, but it's still small.
Yeah. Short wheelbase, a little bit shorter than the Elantra for sure. And yeah, it's very light too. It's only like 3,300 pounds. So 3,300 pounds, and comes with about 286 horsepower to the crank. I think with my modifications, I'm hoping to push around 300, but never had it dynoed or anything.
It definitely throws you back in your seat a little, which again, this is like, how much are these things retail for?
So retail, I mean, with tax out the door, it was about 40. So
40?
Start 37, plus fees.
It's really like a GR Corolla. If you could get a GR Corolla at like MSRP. But secondhand, they were going for around like 40.
Yeah.
A couple miles on them, I've seen at least.
And nowadays, you could get these used, I would say like mid to high 20s for like a decent, decently shaped, in decent shape model. Not too high miles. But yeah, I just wanted, honestly, for how I drive a vehicle, I wanted the peace of mind of the powertrain warranty. It actually comes with a track warranty and all that. So they compared to, I would say, Toyota and Honda, I feel like they encourage their owners to actually use the car as it's, intended, as it's developed.
Well, perfect with the big stuff in the news right now with that GR Corolla.
Yes.
The whole thing with the like, you were driving over, was it 85
miles an hour? Yeah.
That's a big thing right now. And honestly, that's because I think another note that they hit is that the tracker in the GR Corolla, so if you buy a GR Corolla, it comes with the track day, but it'll track the speed, obviously, because like that's just what modern cars do.
Right.
And part of the denial of the warranty was that they had said that the car at some point had gone in excess of like 100 miles an hour.
Which is another reason going to do on a track.
You're going on a track, but they're using like aggressive driving as a thing to be like, your warranty is not valid.
Yeah, I actually was with the GR Corolla owner last Sunday, and we were talking about that, and definitely unfortunate. I don't think it was the best move from Toyota. But yeah, the only downside, there was an issue I'm sure you saw with guy who had the Elantra N, and in California.
With the exhaust thing.
Exhaust, yeah.
Yes. You want to keep going? We can keep talking.
Sure. So yeah, that was when I first got the car. I was like, and there are some. I'm in New York City a decent amount these days, and there are some noise. So you'll get a ticket if your car's too high of a decibel.
Yeah.
Like coming in and out of the Lincoln Tunnel. So I had to, and I actually unplugged the valve controller, so my valve's always open. So I got to be a little bit mindful, a little cutesy when I'm coming out of the tunnel. But yeah, that's the only I'd say like negative press. That guy actually ended up having to sell the Elantra. Hyundai didn't really help him out too much.
Well, he had it in N mode though, didn't he? Because that's like their sport mode.
Yeah,
and that's what opened up the exhaust. So,
and the cop though tried saying that like you couldn't drive it in N mode on the road and all this stuff, but it's literally, I don't know.
It's also California.
Yeah,
Fuck
cop was
California.
being a stickler. I don't drive in any mode besides N mode. I shared the story of the injector failing. I was coming from eco into N mode. Since that whole incident, I've never taken it out of N mode.
I want to highlight too while we're in here that maybe when there's less sun, when we take a turn or something, but I like this. What is it? Throttle, power, torque, G4. Is that just standard? When you throw it into N mode, it just brings up all these analytics. Brings this up,
and it's also customizable. So you have like I could speed, brake press, engine temp, oil. All of that is customizable. Also on the second screen, you could tune, your chassis, the suspension, your exhaust sound, how sensitive the limited slip differential is, etc.
That's a lot of electronic stuff, though. But you haven't had any. You said what? You've got 50,000 miles on it,
yeah, 50,000 miles.
No major issues, nothing.
No major
aside
issues,
from the.
The injector's failing. That's actually, there is a recall that just happened for the one like modification that people have been doing is like they put the high pressure fuel pump from the Sonatas in it. But there's a recall that and they're doing that upgrade basically covering it through Hyundai. So hopefully I'll get that done and save a few $100 from having to buy the better fuel pump. But yeah, that's the only really like thing that I'm tentatively worried about happening. But since that rebuild of the fuel injection system and all that, I've had no issues whatsoever. And I mean, you see how I drive.
I see how you drive.
I do daily pulls basically.
And again, this is used as a camera car for supercar rallies. So you're ripping it through these like mountains and these fields and stuff with R8s and 458s, 911s.
Right.
You beat the shit out of this car, which again. There's still that stigma around buying something from Hyundai. And do you think they invested a lot more into their N stuff just to like try to break that stigma?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. Basically our like Lord and Savior is Albert Bierman. So they poached him from BMW M Performance Division. He's really kind of the brainchild behind all the N Performance stuff, a lot of the Genesis stuff that you see happening. And he actually retired, but he still is on their like board of directors and still has a hand in a lot of the R&D. The Ioniq 5N that just came out got EV Car of the Year 2024. He played a big part in that. But yeah, Hyundai's continued to poach engineers and folks from Porsche, Audi, etc. And that has really, and BMW. So a lot of folks kind of say this is like a bootleg BMW car, bootleg M car, and I would say they are copying the playbook, but doing it in the right ways. And they've in just a short amount of time they've created that lifestyle brand that I see folks buying into. The New York Auto Show this year had a huge N branded pop-up where
you got all the stuff there.
They were making custom hats. I got the bomber jacket, a children's book, umbrellas, this and that. but yeah, that was like the first time that I had access to that stuff in person rather than having to order it from Germany or Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So I did go a little crazy. But yeah, I definitely, you know, the brand as a whole is just continuing to elevate as time goes on, and it's really cool to be a part of it, and you know, hopefully continue to grow with the brand.
Mm-hmm. And that's another big thing I've noticed. Like people that are into like Hyundai, they're just like into it. It's like a cult almost. Like you say, enthusiasts. Like I know you got every N branded thing you can find on this side of the ocean, and it.
Yeah, no, and even
Like,
Hyundai like actually just threw an Instagram raffle. Well, my buddy, he has like I would say one of the best spec Kona N's in the country. Cali Kona N. Shout out to Gavin. He's got an awesome YouTube channel as well where he kind of showcases all his mods and things that he's continuing to do to the car.
is there a big aftermarket for these? Like
Decently.
performance-wise?
I would say more so for the Elantra. They've kind of stopped doing things for the Kona N as much, and some of the stuff is harder to find.
The Elantra, and that's the only N they make now, right?
Currently, yeah, the only N like of this with this engine and drivetrain. Besides the Ioniq 5N, and then yeah, the future.
Well, that's what electric.
Electric,
though. That doesn't
full
really
electric,
count.
so we can't really count that in the same class. But yeah, I was saying the Cali Kona N, him and my buddy Derek, Snoozin is his handle. They won a competition where they actually got flown out to Rally Portugal, the WRC race in Portugal, all expenses paid by Hyundai. They flew them from stage to stage in a helicopter.
No
They
way.
were driving around an Ioniq 5N like throughout Portugal, had just an incredible experience. And, you know, I might not have won that, but I did win a little swag bag. So they sent me a little N drawstring bag. They sent me a nice windbreaker, Never Just Drive beach towel, a bunch of stuff that, me being me, I probably would have bought anyway.
Yeah.
So I was really grateful to kind of get. It was really cool to get, you know, from the manufacturer, receive this box from Korea of all this swag. Definitely only, you know, firmed my belief in the brand and my desire to continue to promote and showcase the brand.
And that, again, going back to like Hyundai in general, in comparison like Toyota or Honda, it seems more like Hyundai is really hammering in their, like, they take care of their customers. You know, like, it feels weird to say because, like, I've always known Hyundai as, like, you know, you're on your fifth motor, they suck, right? I know that guy. But, no, like, you know, more recently, like, you're just a normal guy that drives a Kona N, but they're sending you out swag bags. They're like, hey, dude, like, thanks for buying the product.
Just a normal
You're showing it
guy.
up.
What are you trying to say here? But
You
yeah,
know what
no,
I mean?
I know what
like
you mean.
you're not like a lot of the brands like Toyota, Honda, like unless you're
You
someone
gotta
like,
have 50,
some
75,000
crazy
followers,
influencer
whatever.
that they're not gonna pay you any mind. Like your buddies that you were saying that won that thing to get flown out, like they're just some random guys with Hyundai. Well, I guess the one has a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, but like, and you know, but they have a few thousand followers, you know, comparatively to these car influencers that, you know, we're used to, the big time guys. Like, yeah, they would definitely be small scale, but Hyundai is really kind of taking care. They're
like,
noticing, and they're watching people who are very passionate about the cars and the brands, and they're paying attention, which is cool. I've engaged with the brand directly in a few different ways, and every interaction has been just positive and, you know, has made me almost like I would love to work for the brand if there was an opportunity. I recently got connected with somebody who does PR for them up in Canada, and there's a big community up in Canada, and some of the racing teams based up there. But yeah, I'd love to find, you know, some kind of position or potentially in the States, God willing. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd definitely be pretty cool.
Yeah. I always said, you know, my biggest aspiration would be to work for Porsche. You know, not to take it away from our Hyundai discussion, but yeah, that would be a dream of mine to at some point work for the Porsche brand. But I don't see myself ever getting rid of this car. I would like to pass it on to, you know, my nephews or my children. You know, might be on the second engine at that point, but we'll see.
But that's the
Just
thing.
based on how I
Like,
drive it. Based on how I drive it, I wouldn't say. I feel like. Sorry, I cut you off. What
no,
were you
you're
gonna say?
good. I just think like like you said, there's just I forgot the word I used. The stigma to the Hyundai brand. Yeah, you can loop back. There's just like the stigma to the Hyundai brand, where like people just see it as like the brand that's gonna go through multiple motors and like it's not gonna be reliable. And for the longest time, it was. And I mean, like their normal like everyday cars, I think still don't have the best reputation. But I feel like for their end performance line, they really like they just went like a whole different level with these. And like it grew that cult following, like you and all the other guys that I've known have met through you, that they like Hyundai has really shifted, at least in my mind, in part thanks to you, on like
Appreciate that.
how like they're on their image.
Yeah, yeah. No, the
And
brand. I mean, like I was telling you earlier too, I never saw myself being a Hyundai owner. I mean, I used to kind of clown a buddy in high school for his Tibron, even though
they're still ugly.
they're ugly. But I mean, it was a pretty cool car, and it performed pretty well, you know. And I didn't have a car at the time, so I had no room to say anything. But was just, you know, ever since Han and you know, Fast and the Furious was like, you know, had that line about Hyundai, which he has since retracted. But
Has he? What, he said something?
yeah, in a recent interview, because he was blown away by specifically the Ioniq 5N.
But then I drove their N series. They have this Ioniq 5 all electric car, and it blew my mind, man.
But yeah, honestly, they're doing something right. And this car, you know, it's got reinforced chassis. You know, I've jumped it many times. I used to jump it kind of, you know, at least once or twice a week, and no issues. You would think that, you know, yeah, based on how I continue to beat on it,
And that's like just knowing you and knowing how you treat the vehicle, like you drive it, like you genuinely like put it through the paces, and you treat it like Hyundai branded as a performance car, and you treat it as a performance car. You don't go easy on it,
right? Case
but
in point.
it's still held well. It's still been reliable. It's still, you know, other than the one time, hasn't left you stranded. But even in that time, going back to like Hyundai, like taking care of their people, like they reached out, they paid for
it was like $1,000 hotel stay.
They covered it.
They covered it. No questions asked. The folks at the dealership. There was another time I was driving cross country for an event brand activation I had to do, and I stopped through the dealership, and they were so excited to see me. And you know, we chopped it up, and they were like, "What are you doing in town again?" And like they were so hyped that I was back in Joplin. Yeah, I would say, I mean, in general, I don't necessarily get my car serviced at the dealers. I do a lot of it myself. But shouts to Fletcher Hyundai in Joplin, Missouri. Those are some good dudes, and they were definitely passionate about the N brand. And last time I was there, they actually had they had 2 Kona N's on the lot, which was cool to see because you don't really see them too often. But yeah, it's I would recommend this car to anybody. I think it's like a turnkey rally ripper. You don't have to do much to it. You can squeeze more power out of it if you want. I have a friend who's got an Elantra N. It's meth injected, tuned. He's got I think it's close to 400 horsepower to the wheel.
What are these the motors?
It's a so it's an inline. It's a 2-liter inline 4, direct injected, little turbo.
400 crank or wheel?
I want to say wheel, because he said his
Wheel is
dyno.
insane.
Don't quote me on that directly. I mean, I could, it could be crank, but yeah, N Driver KG, shouts to Kirby. He posts a lot of content in Mexico on his YouTube, but he, you know, BMWs, like Supras, all types of cars that you would typically think he's outclassed in, he keeps up with, and it's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of set like a bench. I would say regionally, he set the benchmark for performance with the platform. But yeah, I think, you know, as far as mods go, I think I'm probably good for the time being. I want to put, you know, maybe another year or two. I think once my warranty expires, then I'll potentially get a downpipe and a tune. But I don't want to void the warranty as best I can just yet. So I'm like right at the cusp of it already with some of my modifications. But yeah, man, it's a great car. Anytime you want to drive it too, you're happy. I'm happy.
I'm terrified to drive other people's cars.
Well, you know,
I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't like driving other people's cars. The original idea for this segment actually was that I drove the other person's car, and like that way I'd get like Doug DeMuro does.
Yeah, like
and
a
he talks
first-hand
about it. Yeah,
impression, and
then one day I was kind of like, I don't want to drive someone else's car. Like that terrifies me.
that's fair. You know, I respect it, but yeah, I trust you. I would say you're probably a better, more experienced driver than I am. You know, based on that one time you saw me slide in that curb. But yeah. Anytime, you know, any of you enthusiasts out there, you want to check it out, hit me up. I'm happy to share the end feeling. You know,
And he's not joking either. I've seen him let random people just get in the car and drive, and just.
this is true. This is true.
I've never seen anyone plug a brand so much as you have. But like that's like
Because I
again,
believe in it,
going
though.
back to like every
Yeah.
person I meet with like a Kona N or an Elantra, and they love it. They love sharing it. They know everyone else that owns one, and it's weird to see because it's like it really is just like I don't want to keep saying cult, but it's a community,
quickly
and it's a
turning
really
into,
strong
yeah.
community. It's like
We're dedicated for sure.
it's like Corvette guys, but if they were like 50, 60 years younger, you know.
It's funny that you brought that up because I just was out at Hawk's Nest, and there's a whole crew of Corvette guys I pulled up behind at one of the two pull-offs, and they're like, "Why is that thing so loud? What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a performance model." And then I ripped past them twice, and they were all like cheering, you know, on the side of the road, waving their fists. But yeah, a bunch of it was nice to, you know. I'm sure that they never had seen a Kona N or heard a Kona N in person. So
Probably never seen a Hyundai rip like that ever.
yeah. So I really enjoy kind of awakening and you know, awakening people's perspective and you know, helping push the brand forward as best I can. I had a few, you know, a previous job, and a coworker was like, "Are you sure? Like, you're confident being, you know, an early adopter of the brand?" And like, no question, like I've never questioned my, I never
Your dedication,
I never
your
questioned my
loyalty.
dedication or loyalty to the brand.
Because that's the thing, too. You said you've had this for 2 years. Again, 2 years ago, anything anyone ever said about Hyundai was they suck, they're cheap, they're poorly made, and they're going to go through multiple engines.
Right.
But you had this car, and it's held strong. And every person with again, it's specifically the N trim ones, though. Like,
Careful to say N trim because there are N line.
I know.
There are N line. So, but yeah, no, specifically the N performance models.
And performance
we'll say.
models, yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about them. They've held up well.
Yeah, I mean, there's people, I'm definitely on all like a lot of Facebook groups and stuff. There's people who have significantly more miles than me, mostly like on Velocitors and stuff, but Kona N's too, and they're holding up fine. I mean, the only like thing that I would wish maybe differently, some of the like coming from Volkswagen, the interior material
I think this is a nice interior.
It's nice. The seats, the Alcantara seats and
The
stuff are
seats
great.
are so nice.
Seats are very
They're
comfortable. That one's manual, but the driver's side is electrical adjusting. It has some lumbar support, but just like some of the plastic and stuff, you know, could have been a little bit better. But you're getting, like, for the price point, I'm paying for the reinforced chassis, the tuned suspension, the engine, all of that stuff. So I can't really complain because for the price point, I think it's an amazing enthusiast car. And yeah, I'm definitely, I want to continue to rip on it and use it as a camera car and bring it to as many meets to showcase it as I can. So yeah, you'll continue to see a lot of it, hopefully.
You alone have shifted my entire perspective on the Hyundai brand, which is crazy to think, but yeah, they've changed. I mean, they have changed. They've, at least for their end performance cars, it's definitely a massive upgrade from the Hyundai of, years ago.
For sure. No, for sure, man. And I would say, stay tuned for, some of the stuff Genesis is going to continue to put out. They're more luxury brand, but they're starting to also try to introduce some more performance-oriented models. So yeah, I just think between Genesis and the Hyundai N team, they're just going to continue to put out some amazing drivers' cars, and they continue to dominate the rally. They continue to dominate the TCR, races, and Pikes Peak this year they crushed it with the Ioniq 5N. So as they continue to kind of just get those collect those accolades, I feel like the more and more people are going to buy into the brand, which is exciting for all of us in the community for sure.
I just wish they kept around like their performance models and stuff. Just kept them around more. Because like the Veloster had a couple years. This had 2 years. The Elantra's around pretty well, but I don't understand what it is with Honda. They just don't like bring a model and keep it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it does all come down to, I think, at the end of the day, they got to sell the cars. I think they were having issues moving these specifically.
And again, for the same thing where like people have that stigma with the Hyundai brand.
Yeah.
So I think that's their biggest hurdle. That they just got to shake that.
Yeah. The more people like you guys out there who continue to accept us as an actual performance brand putting out good cars, I would say that's what's needed. Just some more buyers, and you got to break that stigma and, like you were saying, just shake off all the old viewpoints and kind of realize that they're doing good things for the car community in total. Where could I launch it?